Moin und Hallo beim Filmfest Bremen. Mein Name ist Yugen.
Und ich bin Susanne. Und wir sind vom Indiefilmtalk Podcast und dürfen gleich ins Gespräch gehen zum Dokumentarfilm Higher Love zusammen mit dem wunderbaren Hassan Oswald. Hi, Hassan.
Hello, thank you so much for having me on today.
It's really sunny in your side. I guess you are not in Bremen because we have really, shitty April weather. We had like snow yesterday. Where are you?
Yeah, lucky for me, I'm down in Florida. I'm from New York City, but I'm down here for a few weeks.
And actually, you have a connection to Bremen. You said something like you've spent some time in the past. What you've done in Bremen?
Yeah, so I was actually, before I got into film, I was an English teacher. And so I spent some time teaching right outside Bremen and then playing football there as well. So that was in 2014. So yeah, it's a very special festival for me.
And we didn't met him there.
Yeah.
But now we have some time to talk with you about your movie. You have the documentary Higher Love, which actually shows us a quite dark place called Camden, and we get together with some, I would say, some lost souls who are actually pretty hard drug addicts, and you getting very close to these people. How did you find like the people Iman and Nani? How did you get to their stories?
Sure, yeah. So as I mentioned, I was actually an English teacher right until I made this film. I had no professional experience. I learned through podcasts such as yours and other kind of indie Robert Rodriguez styled podcasts, how to edit, how to shoot. And I just bought a camera, the Sony A7S Mark II, and went to Camden and went door to door. It's one of America's most dangerous cities. My father actually was originally from Camden and his whole family, so I had always had this idea of kind of returning. So that was the seed of the impulse. And I lived in New York, and since it was only a 2-hour drive, it was somewhere where I could, afford to shoot with zero budget. So I went door to door until I found. First, I found actually one of those first scenes in the motel with Nani and her crew, Iman, Nikki, and Ty. That was one of the first nights, I think the second night I met them, and I had just met them on the street the day before.
Wow, and how was it? How long did it take you to actually get to that 3 people and they just let you in? I mean, did you spend like days, weeks ringing the bells of different doors, or how long did it take to find them?
Yeah, so the film started out as a collection of kind of vignettes or little stories. We had 8 to 10, there's a police officer, the drug dealer, and it kind of narrowed down. So I had been there for about a month, meeting a lot of people. And then right when I met this group, and I think because I didn't have a production crew with me and I met them where they were, at the street level, at their houses, I was afforded this kind of immediate trust because they let me in to kind of give a lens for them to tell their stories of what happened to them. And that trust was given surprisingly quickly.
Yeah, sorry. The scenery was very, for me, the movie was very authentic, very close to the protagonists. Why did you decide to show us this world so authentic?
Yeah, so I always, I don't like the kind of cliche, fly on the wall, but I see it kind of as like a pure verite, and it's not something that I set out to do. It's something that happened naturally. As I said, I was a one-man crew. I could get into these kind of nooks and crevices that a crew could not have gotten in. A crew would not have gotten that trust, that access. And so after, the first month or so of filming, and I filmed about 1.5 years in total over the span of 2 years, it was as if I wasn't there anymore. I was just, less than a fly on the wall. So that's how I think these more authentic scenes, like whether it's the fight in the car or Nani and the baby at home with she struggling to watch him, and it's almost like I wasn't there, and that was a testament to how much they just let me in their lives.
When was the point where you decided to make this documentary, where like this point came that you said, I will do that one and not another thing?
Yeah, so that was, I guess, late 2016, 2017. And I didn't give myself a plan B. I had quit teaching. I didn't have a budget, and I knew I wanted to do film. While I was traveling as a teacher, I'd fallen in love with like GoPros and those do-it-yourself hacks with DIY filmmaking. So it wasn't that the story, I didn't know about Iman and Nani. I knew about the opioid epidemic and the heroin epidemic, but Camden jumped out at me just as a feasible, like budgetary. It was feasible. I could go there. And once I got there, I knew that, this was a weekend. I knew that this is a story I had to tell of this forgotten, fallen American city. Camden was a factory town, just like Cleveland or Detroit, that built America, and now they're some of the toughest, most downtrodden cities in the country.
Let's talk about distance. I mean, you were so close to the people, and you were in some pretty intimacy scenes and hard scenes. So what have you done for yourself to protect yourself, not getting too much involved, not getting too emotional?
Yeah, I think what really helped me was that I didn't have any formal background. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. So I didn't really, while I was filming, the whole process was kind of shrouded in this desperate hustle to make this film. So the film did provide me a filter or a protection from what I was witnessing, because, looking back on it, it was really, really rough stuff. Not just, I had no exposure to drug addiction or drug use, especially not at that level. So it was very tough, but I think for better or for worse, the camera did provide me a filter. And there were some really tough parts. For example, it's very hard to watch a 7-month pregnant woman inject. That was like day number 2 of filming with them. It's really, really hard. But then even harder is when that baby is born and you watch Daryl struggle trying to protect his son, and you watch Nani on the other end of the spectrum constantly putting that baby in danger, and you grow to love this baby, and it's you and Nani and the baby in the house, and there's boiling water on the counter, there's open syringes everywhere, there's stairs. So yeah, it was really hard. And I made the decision very early on that if there was, for example, later cuts, there was 2 scenes where my hand actually went into the frame to get the cigarettes out of his mouth, and the second was I think he had a closed syringe. So I made the decision, or like no doubt was I going to intervene if he was actually in real trouble. But that was hard, and it's definitely something I still deal with. As far as did you do enough? Did you? And the answer is, in my opinion, is yes. Like, I was there to make a film, but that's kind of that's the filmmaker's perspective. From a human level, it's something that I think about and carry on with me to the next films.
Was there a point where you was thinking about to stop and go back to your home, your cozy home, and forget what you saw or whatever, or did you went through? What was your decision there?
Yeah, never, because I didn't give myself a plan B. I mean, I couldn't go back to teaching. I had left my master's program in the city. Like, on purpose, I didn't give myself a plan B. So I loved it, honestly. Of course, I was scared at times and overwhelmed, but I really did love it. And I guess the closest I came, I was filming on the top of that big old Campbell soup factory that we passed a few times in the film, and I fell through the roof, and my tripod got stuck in the shingles. And so I fell to like here. And that was when I thought maybe I was being a bit selfish as far as my parents were concerned.
So you said there were some scenes or some moments that were very scary, like, for example, of course, or I was really afraid when I've seen the scene where she's actually boiling the water and the little one is actually, walking around, and I was, I hope nothing's gonna happen. Or later on when they're going in the dark house and taking last time the injury and everything. what was your scene, or which moment was most scaring for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely that, well, that whole kind of day with the boiling water. Daryl had been out looking for work, and he worked daily, so she was often left with the child. So kind of a composite of that day, that happened a lot, but that day in particular with the boiling water, and he loved stairs. And that was something that, so with the boiling water, I was watching for him to reach up, and I was close enough to get there, because that's the biggest fear, is pulling something off the stove if you have a baby. Yeah. The stairs, I was really because one little slip and he would have been down, and he loved the stairs. But I guess the biggest issue was, so they mix the heroin with fentanyl, which is a synthetic opioid, and fentanyl is, if you get the wrong dosage, that's when you get the overdose deaths, and you get that a lot, and that can be from exposure, whether it's, babies put everything in their mouth. So and she had stashes hidden all around the house. So I was most scared that he would find an empty baggie with residue or something like that. And he never, somehow, it's a miracle, he never got into that. And also when he was born, he didn't have any withdrawal symptoms. So it's kind of a miracle. And I talk to them probably twice a week, and he's doing really, really well. And it doesn't make sense on paper, seeing what I saw her put into her body and the first 3 years of his life. But yeah, some of those days were really, really trying.
So you're still in contact with them, and did they have seen the finished movie?
Yeah, so Daryl, I'm closest with Daryl, as I was in the film, and we talk, once, twice a week. He loves the movie. He's seen it like 20 times. He says he cries his way through always, but he says the film changed him, and it reminds him not to go back. So he's still doing really well. He's still away from Nani in a different state. It provided a mirror for him, he said. He hated that I put in that scene of him drunk at his birthday, but he said it provided a source of an opportunity to heal that part of his life. And so that's Daryl. I talked to him the other day, actually. Nani had recently seen the film, and she didn't, she liked the film, but she obviously did not like the portrayal of her. And he said he told her that, this is a mirror for you. And he actually told me that he had agreed to do the documentary, that maybe this mirror would shock her into reality, similar to how he hoped a baby would shock her into reality. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's working. I am in contact with Iman's son, and Iman off and on. It's really hard. Part of the challenging part of filming with them was that, they don't have cell phones, and they don't have a steady address. So it's kind of just finding them. I've been in the Middle East filming my next project, so that's made it even more hard. I can't just go to Camden on a weekend and try to find them, but I am in contact with them. Daryl's in and out of the city sometimes. It's looking pretty, it's amazing that they've made it this long, doing what they're doing to their bodies in Camden, but it seems like it has taken a turn for the worse, especially during COVID, for the remaining members of that group.
Before we jump over to your next projects, maybe, let's talk a little bit about something about the production. And I would like to know...
talk about money.
Before we talk about money, I would like to know how did you do it? Because the movie have a very high production value, for my opinion. And did you have a team around you, or how did you manage it?
Yeah, no, I didn't have a team. So I went by myself. And I had learned editing on YouTube tutorials, filmmaking, the basics about the A7S, the Sony series. And I found things that I liked, whether it was travel videos or documentaries that I liked. And I tried to, imitate loosely their styles, like whether it was a certain shot or a certain cutaways, things like that. So I knew styles I liked, but yeah, it was all me. And then I brought on an incredible post team. So I did the first 30-minute cut, and then I was showing it around, trying to raise funds. And I met, our incredible editor, Caitlin, our two amazing producers, Alex and Derek. who then joined me in Camden on and off. So they were there kind of as my muscle. And so I give all the credit in the world to how good it looks at the end to our amazing post team.
Really impressive.
And you talked about funding. When did you start trying to fund it? Because it sounds like at the beginning you went really run and gun there and tried everything to only shoot your stuff.
Right. So I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. So I just went and filmed for about a year, made a 30-minute cut, thought I was going to come back and, ready to get funding off this. Of course I didn't, but I did inspire people to join the team. So it was kind of just as good. So to make ends meet, I had to do some odd things. I would donate my blood. Or not donate, sorry, sell my blood plasma twice a week in Camden. So that's how I afforded a lot of the lenses and stuff. The only real expense I had was gas. I had a place to stay. And so then there was other little tricks, like I would run up credit cards. I don't recommend that. Obviously, I would return, I would buy an editing system and return it on the 29th day after editing with it. It was really precarious and very stressful. So a lot of little things like that to kind of make this ultra low budget, zero budget film happen somehow.
So you give everything you had, and now
your blood.
And your blood, and now you're in the middle of your next project. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure, yeah. So I've been off and on the last year and a half in northern Iraq, covering a story, the Yazidi genocide. Although the genocide happened in 2014, there are still, 3,000 to 7,000 missing Yazidis, probably a little over 3,000 still in captivity with ISIS. The majority of those would be the sex slaves, the sabayas. So we're with one family as they look for their missing family members between northern Iraq, Syria, Turkey, and we're just about wrapped filming that. And so that will hopefully be available. We hope to premiere it sometime early next festival season.
Sorry, Susan, before you end this talk, because it's so interesting for me, I would like to ask one question more.
Go for it.
And it would be, how do you find your stories? Because this one is just another story. It's a different kind of place even. So how do you find your stories, and what stories are so interesting for you that you have to make a documentary out of them?
Yeah, it's a good question because I don't really have an answer, but I would say, I've been asked this before, and what grabbed me about the Yazidi story, for example, this current story that I'm working on, of course I was interested in the Syrian civil war and the Yazidi genocide, but it wasn't that really inspired me to do the movie. So I knew that was going to be the kind of canvas that my film was projected against, but similar to the heroin epidemic in Camden, New Jersey. But when I met my characters, when I met Daryl and Nani, I knew that was something not only to propel the story in kind of a superficial way, but they were characters that I had to tell their story. So yeah, it was a story about heroin addiction, but really it was a story about love with Daryl and addiction with Nani, and you can actually trade those back and forth. And with the kids in Iraq that when I met them, when I went to the camps, and I met the three siblings, Gazwan, Adnan, and Mediha. Yes, on paper, it's compelling that they're looking for their mother, their father, and their missing baby brother who are in captivity, ISIS captivity. But when I met them, something, I don't know what it is, something told me that, these are three characters that not only will drive a story, but their story really needs to be told.
And we're really looking forward to see that story on screen. Thank you so much for your time, and I wish you all the best with Higher Love and, of course, with your actual project. And we hope we see you soon.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on today.
Yeah.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.